Ho ho buddies, welcome to Borderline Games. I'm Gareth and today we're playing Chaos Head. Last time we finished the Daydream ending and we're going to head straight in to the Moon and Sun ending. I'm going to top the top of this stream by saying last time we came across some pretty upsetting, I don't know, assault maybe, so trigger warnings for anything we might come in contact with from now on, just in case. We had some trigger warnings for incest, and some other kind of upsetting topics. So if this is not something that you'd be interested in watching, if you're kind of triggered by that kind of stuff, then come back and check out another stream. But for now, we're going to head straight into the Moon and Sun ending. So I'm going to start a new one. Oops. Yeah, we do this. We do this now. And I think I press E to skip, right? Yes. So we skip. And we're looking at delusion trigger number 1. While in class talking to Masumi. We can just skip all this. Okay, here we are. Right, so... delusion trigger number 1, we're going to have as neutral. So we've seen this before on a previous stream, so let's just hurry up and get to that. And then it's this here. So it's just a coincidence, we're going to say no. I'm hallucinating, we're going to say no. Whoever did it is inside the school, I'm going to say yes. They're taunting me. Yes. So I wonder whether this is going to give us an insight as to who is making these, whose eyes are those eyes. I want to erase it. We should say yes. Okay. You recognize it, right? Discovered Yua's story. Okay, cool. Come on, what's the matter? Masumi-kun walked up to me, grabbed my shoulder, and gave me a good shake. Are you even listening? Hello, Taku? It must have just been a common phrase or something, or in other words, it was just a stupid, pointless scribble. I tried to tell myself that, but I still couldn't calm down. So in the end, I just went up and erased it, moved quickly so that no one would notice. Okay, and now we're back to the skippies. And then there's going to be a couple of interactions with Yua, apparently. There's little Rimi. Okay, Shibuya Station was a much different place in the early morning than it was later in the day. Young people were scarce, and countless businessmen, following a jarring ride on the crowded trains, rushed out of the station and scattered every which way into Shibuya. It was a place marked by indolence. Indolence? Indolence. Indolence. Okay, we're going to have to pause the stream. Get a quick pronunciation check. Indolence.
Indolence.
Indolence. Yet engulfed by an air of restlessness. The students of Sumai Academy carried that with them as well. However, the number of them present was rather sparse. Shibuya Station was about 20 minutes away from Sumai by foot, and on top of that, part of the route was an uphill trek via Dogenzaka. Most Sumai students taking the train would depart at the stop nearest to the Academy Shinsen Station. Kusanagi Yua, meanwhile, took on the unnecessary task of walking from Shibuya Station. Waking up early for this did not cause any headaches for her. The heart of Shibuya was often suffocatingly crowded, but as soon as one began the climb up Dogenzaka, the number of pedestrians dropped sharply. Taking the extra time to walk and breathe in the refreshing morning air was something Yua quite enjoyed. Part of the reason why she chose to walk from Shibuya Station was to see the news displayed on the Jumbotrons above the Scramble Crossing. As she waited for the pedestrian signal to change, Yua peered up at O-Front's Jumbotron just as she always did. and upon doing so, she gasped in shock. The captions running across the screen before her had taken her breath away. The headline read, "Third New Gen Incident." A certain boy's face rocketed to the forefront of her mind, a boy whom she did not know, nor had ever spoken with. But it was a face she'd seen the previous morning at school. Though for Yua, that was evidence enough to convince her that he was the true culprit behind New Gen. Yua could recall the events of the previous morning vividly. 7 a.m. Sumai Private Academy. Yua marched quickly through the empty halls. It seemed that no others had arrived yet. Her expression rigid. She gazed straight ahead, without faltering, without a hint of restraint in her stride. Yua advanced onward, stopping only once. She arrived at a certain classroom. The sign which framed the room number read 2C. Following a quick gaze to confirm her destination, Yua slid the door open without hesitation. 2C was not her homeroom. As a third year, she should have had no reason to even set foot in there. Absolutely no reason at all. That was how it would be under normal circumstances, at least. But right then, she had a specific goal in mind. After methodically scanning the empty classroom, Yua approached the blackboard. She perused the selection of coloured chalk colours for a brief moment before picking up a pristine white piece. Then, using intentionally poor handwriting, she wrote a single sentence on the blackboard. Whose eyes are those eyes? She whispered the words to herself. Whose eyes are those eyes? Gently placing the chalk back down, she surveyed the room once more. I wonder how you're going to react. Her whispers continued for nobody to hear but herself. Maybe you won't be fazed, or maybe it'll surprise you, and then maybe you'll try to erase it in a hurry if you do that. In the silence of the empty classroom, her intimidating voice echoed. I'll have evidence that you're the killer. I'll be hiding, watching your each and every move. You don't know my face, but I know yours. I know it. I know your face. Alright. I've seen it, and I'll be watching. I do wonder, though, what will be going through your head when you see the blackboard? I suppose I'll just have to see. Right. Oh. Yeah, because she's talking to Takumi. Right. This is you, Takumi-kun. Takumi-kun. Yua forcefully bit her lip. After she'd finished her task, Yua made her way up to the roof to kill time until the students of 2C finally arrived. Then, 10 minutes before the bell rang, Yua returned to the hallway. Peering in through the door, she kept an eye out for anyone who might react to her inscription of whose eyes are those eyes. And just as she had predicted, a certain panicked schoolboy was the one to erase the words. One look at his face and she could tell exactly who it was. Nishijiro Takumi. I'm sure of it now. I know it's you. It has to be you. It can only be you. She muttered those words to herself, only for them to be drowned out by a speaker mimicking the sound of pigeons cooing. The pedestrian signal at the scramble had changed colours. The massive wave of pedestrians collectively ceased their standstill and began moving once more. However, Yua remained where she was, paying no heed to the possibility that she may be in the way of those trying to cross. She simply stood in place, focusing all of her attention on the subtitles that appeared up on the Jumbotron. Third New Gen killing. Okay, back to skip in. So we're going to branch off... Oh! We're going to branch off at Chapter 7 with this one. Kazunori Yua was born with a twin sister. However, she died 1 month ago. It had been ruled a suicide. The two were like a pair of couple of necklaces, incomplete without one another. Their bond simply was not comparable to that of ordinary sisters. The shock of her death left Yua feeling as if she were only half the person she once was. That was how much she adored her twin sister. When she heard the news, an endless waterfall of tears sprang forth from her eyes. She collapsed onto her sister's bed, desperately searching for the girl who'd been living there until only yesterday. Why did she have to die? Yua searched for any answer at all, but found none. It wasn't really suicide. She'd never kill herself. Somebody must have murdered her. These thoughts only fueled the flame of her grief. Maybe, Yua thought, maybe she left behind a message that nobody's found yet. Tormented by feelings of guilt, she began rummaging through her sister's possessions. When she did, she found a single diary, and within it were the words, "Whose eyes were those eyes?" Whoa! Whose eyes are those eyes? This was a clear cry for help from her sister. Even so, Yua had no idea what that phrase meant. With nothing to lose, she decided to search for it online. Among the results, she discovered a single essay, one that had been entered into the National Elementary School Writing Contest. It was a competition that had been held 6 years ago by the Ministry of Education, and the title of one of the winning essays was "Whose Eyes Are Those Eyes?" The author's name was written beside the essay title. While a kanji could be read in multiple ways, the correct reading was clarified. Nishijou Takumi, a 5th grade elementary schooler at the time. However, that was where the trail went cold. She had no idea what connection Nishijou Takumi had with her sister's death. Then came an incredible coincidence. It was rather common for Yua to pass by Shota Park on her way to school. And in that park, about twice a week, she would spot a lonesome schoolboy eating bread. Eating bread? As Yua observed him in his time of solitude, she somehow grew fond of seeing him. On her way to school one day, Yua happened to run into a friend of hers at the station. The two of them decided to walk together, eventually coming across the boy on the bench. Upon seeing him, her classmate spoke up. That guy over there is a second year named Nishijou. He's in my brother's class. I hear he's one of those shut-in otaku freaks. So you should really stay away from him, Kusunoki. Nishijou. Nishijou. The characters in his name would normally be read as Saijo. For it to be read as Nishijou was an anomaly. Oh, really? There was no way it was a mere coincidence. As soon as she could, Yua got her hands on the list of second-year Sumai Academy students, and there it was. That name, Nishijou Takumi. Still, the shared name would not stand on its own as decisive evidence. It, too, could be merely coincidental. So Yua decided to put her theory to the test. Whose eyes are those eyes? She wrote those words on the blackboard and watched as he trembled in fear. That was not the end of it either. Leaked eyewitness reports from the crucifixion incident, which claimed a Sumai Academy student was spotted fleeing the scene, exploded across the internet. Yua had all the evidence she needed. Nishijou Takumi was a suspect, and he very well could have been the one who had murdered her sister. It's interesting seeing it from her perspective. Maybe all the normal beds were full because of the people who'd been injured in yesterday's earthquake, and they just happened to put me in one of the beds from the psychiatric ward because of that. Or maybe they decided that me collapsing was due to psychological factors rather than the physical ones. I'm guessing that it stopped the skipping because we've not actually seen this outcome on this delusion. But we'll go through it, seeing as we supposedly haven't. Well, I suppose they wouldn't be wrong then. My mood was gradually getting worse and worse. And off we go. We hadn't seen that little bit. Where's the new stuff? Another delusion. Have you seen this nonsense? We've seen this nonsense. Keep on going. So much skipping. Just take me there. Maybe I've done the wrong thing. Oh. I refuse. She shot me down in less than a second. Fine. I see how it is. She was the type of bitch who'd like to spit on other people's kindness. Or could it be just the general prickliness of a Sundeer? Acting like the IRL wasn't Mo at all. Okay, then how about this, Seneshan? Oh, I see. This is, whatever her name is. Takumi-shan will give you the wedding stick if Seneshan says the Shibuyan magic words that Seneshan and Kuzupi studied the other day. I said I don't want it. Oh, come on. Just do it. Say the thing Seneshan's supposed to say when she's having fun. Now that I think about it, I'm like having so much super duper ultra fun that it's crazy! Like, wowie, zowie, very good. What kind of DQN Giara language was this? She'd even mixed in some words that had fallen out of usage several years ago. So they'd been studying that. It had hurt to listen to, but in a way it was actually kind of charming. It's so Seneshan and Kozupi can fit right into the situation. Come on, Seneshan. I can't. Not here. You can too. No, I can't. Ugh. Kozupi got teary-eyed once again as she stared unrelentingly at Senna. If she did that, Senna would have to. Now that you mention it, I'm having so much fun, it's insane, like, wow. Very good. Senna-shan's still pausing a whole bunch. Senna, now red in the face, turned away. I'd borne witness to something truly precious. Something worlds away from the girl who'd go on and on about unintelligible theories like they were nothing. Dear Mode truly was the best. GJ, Kozupi. G fucking J. Thanks to you, I'd managed to catch a single, ephemeral glimpse of the true potential 3D still had to offer. Anyway, with all that said and done, I handed over the winning stick to Senna. She accepted it with surprisingly little pushback. Don't expect a thank you. Upon saying that, she made a show of picking up and shouldering her D-sword as she scowled at me, leading me to quickly look downward. I wasn't sure why she had to intimidate me like that, even though I'd just given her something. I really had no idea how to deal with her like this. I wish she'd just stay in deer mode all the time. Don't know if we get to see that again. I'm sure we've seen that, right? Maybe it was a little different. Oh, Sun and Moon. Here we go. We're now on the Sun and Moon bit. The Sun and Moon bit. The sun and moon bit? Moon and sun bit. Initiated by Momose, a meeting was slated to be held at Frisia Credit Bureau, a meeting to which Ban was now running nearly half an hour late for.
Ban-chan, you're awfully late. I'm not getting any younger, you know.
Momose's angry voice hurtled into him as he entered the office. In response to this, Ban gave a minor shrug, then proceeded to walk up to the desk of Frisia's president with an amiable smile on his face. He had not brought any refreshments today, something he was beginning to believe may have been a lapse in judgment.
Mai, where's Suwa-chan?
He's off working on another project for the day.
You sure do enjoy working youngsters to the bone.
Hey, I'm working hard too, Missy. I was up all night yesterday doing all kinds of research. Thanks to that, I've learned a thing or two about the culture surrounding high school girls these days.
I'm at a loss for words. Something you're very talented at causing.
Well, anyway, since you called me over here, does that mean you got in touch with the kid?
Yeah, she's right here now, in fact.
Nice work, Momo-chan. Oh, and while we're on the topic, she a cutie?
Momose promptly smacked Ban over the head, stopping his opportunistic grin in its tracks. The sheer speed with which she had turned her wrist made the slap especially fierce.
That's enough stupidity out of your mouth for one day, you old lech.
I was just kidding.
Before arriving at the building, Banner made a private request to Momose. It entailed setting up a meeting between him and a certain person connected to the New Gen cases. Rather than anything work-related, it was merely to satiate a personal curiosity. He was not planning on talking about anything related to the New Gen investigations for the time being. And due to his position, Ban could not simply meet with the person on his own, else he would risk drawing the ire of the detectives he was getting ahead of. Momose urged Ban over to the corner of the office. It was a fairly cramped space, almost all of which was already taken up by shelves packed full of files. The location was used as a reception area of sorts, and a pair of love seats had been wedged into the only place they could fit. Ban entered the section after Momose, and his eyes landed upon a lone girl sitting in one of the love seats. The girl was wearing a Sumai Academy uniform. Her head and shoulders were curved toward the ground, and she looked incredibly haggard.
Sorry to make you wait, dear.
The girl looked up in startlement upon hearing Momose. In the process, her glasses had slipped down her nose a bit, leading her to swiftly readjust them with her finger.
Oh, not at all. I don't mind.
When she saw Ban, her expression turned slightly fearful, before bowing her head in greeting a moment later. Ban felt somewhat hurt by this. He'd made every attempt to look as non-threatening as possible in both bearing and appearance, but the girl's reaction made him realize that despite his best efforts, the ferocity and intimidation, particularly to detectives, was seeping out all the same.
Looks like I've still got a lot more practicing to do,
He thought with bitter amusement as he sat across from Yua.
Kusanagi Yua-san, right?
Yes.
The older twin sister of the late Mia-san. I got that one right too.
Yua slightly adjusted her posture, then returned a nod. The first New Gen incident, the group dive, among the 5 high schoolers that had leapt to their deaths was a girl named Kusanagi Mia.
Well, there's no need to be nervous. Don't think of it as as me interrogating you. Just think of it like we're having a nice old chat. But before we get to the topic at hand, mind if I ask you something? Yua-chan, what's your opinion on your sister's passing?
Ban-chan, what on earth are you?
Oops. Sorry about that. Comes with the territory. I sometimes forget to be considerate when I'm talking to people. But still, I am curious. I overheard people at HQ talking about it, and they said that the late Kusanagi Miya-san's family was quite strange.
Banchan!
No, it's okay. Before Momose could rise to her feet over Ban's insensitive comment, Yua stopped her. I also believe something is wrong with them.
The 5 that jumped off the roof in the group dive had no reason to commit suicide. Their friends and family all insisted that. But Miya-san's family was different.
Ban took his fan out from his belt and began cooling himself.
I've been told that they were the only ones who weren't adamantly against the idea. That they'd accepted it just like that. In fact, they said so little, it was almost bizarre. Why do you think that is?
After Miya-chan died, both Mum and Dad snapped. Anguish seeped from Yua's voice. On the day we heard about Miya-chan, they cried and cried. Mum and Dad seemed absolutely heartbroken. And yet, the very next morning, for some reason I can't understand, they were smiling. Happily. As if they'd gone right back to how they were before Miya-chan died. It only took a single day. I was at a complete loss. I thought that maybe they were trying to forget about Miya-chan. But then, with this big smile on his face, Dad said something to me. He said, "You don't have a sister." Even when I showed them her clothes, her shoes, anything Miya-chan left behind, they completely disregarded it. They just said, "Those are just a few extras we bought for you just in case." They ignored the news and everything the police said. It was like they were trying to completely erase Miya-chan from their memories. What you mean to say is they were trying to make themselves think that they'd never had twins?
And that's when they told the police that they only had one kid before turning them away.
Miya-chan and I were identical twins, so while our appearances were exactly alike, my sister wasn't exactly favoured by our parents. And yet, she always kept a feeling secret, and she always put me before herself. As Yua spoke, memories from when Mia had still been alive resurfaced in her mind. Wow, okay, and we're jumping straight into the actual new stuff in Moon and Sun, and we'll do that next time on Borderline Games. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Chaos Head, and I will see you next time. Have a great evening, take care of yourselves, bye-bye, 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 bye-bye.